Relations Industriale is a critical and probing journal, but also a pluralist one. I have as my virtual guests two people who represent our plurality. Each has been associated with Relations Industriale in key strategic roles for decades. As we come together to talk today, we couldn't be further apart in physical distance. However, we share a belief that Relations Industriale is an excellent journal, even if we don't share time zones. Let me introduce you to my guests, and then we can talk about our journal. Professor Martine de Moor is full professor with tenure at Laval University in Quebec City, Canada. Professor de Moor is a former editor of Relations Industriale and now active on the review's editorial committee. She has an impressive list of peer-reviewed publications. Professor de Moor is currently in Quebec City. We're also joined by Professor David Peats from Griffith University in Brisbane, Australia. Professor Peats, a long-term member of the review's editorial committee and a world-class thinker about work, employment and the labour market, is currently in Brisbane. Professor de Moor is primarily a francophone scholar, and Professor Peats does most of his work in English. I will use 3 questions to structure our talk. Martine, peut-être nous pourrions commencer avec vous.
Merci beaucoup, Anthony. À cette question, je ferai trois points pour ma réponse. Le premier point que je trouve fort important, c'est que, comme le soulignait Quinlan et Bull dans un article de 2014 dans le New Zealand Journal of Employment Relations, il faisait remarquer que, suite à une analyse de la contribution de 8 grandes revues en relations industrielles, il faisait remarquer que Relations industrielles, Industrial Relations, se démarquait par la proportion plus importante de ces articles consacrés aux conditions de travail réelles, qu'ils appelaient substantive working conditions, comme la rémunération, la charge de travail, les horaires, l'ergonomie. Alors ça, c'est le premier point. Le deuxième point, vous avez mentionné le français, mais le français, ce n'est pas seulement la langue, c'est aussi la localisation d'où vient cette revue, du Québec, de l'Université Laval. Ça veut dire au carrefour de l'Amérique du Nord et de l'Europe comme tradition syndicale, tradition de politique publique. Alors, ça peut être un lieu fort pertinent pour faire les analyses comparatives entre des systèmes de relations industrielles, des politiques publiques, des traditions syndicales. Et le troisième point, bien que relations industrielles soit en soi un champ multidisciplinaire, je voudrais souligner que notre revue, elle est particulièrement multidisciplinaire et interdisciplinaire avec un ancrage dans les sciences sociales. Alors, ça veut dire qu'il y a des articles qui émanent de la sociologie, de l'économie hétérodoxe, des études féministes, de l'ergonomie, alors de toute cette variété, toute cette richesse des études sur le travail et l'emploi.
Thank you, Martine. David, maybe ask you the same question, David. What do you think makes the journal different to the other ones that we regard as being good journals? British Journal of Industrial Relations, Work Employment Society, and the Journal of Industrial Relations.
Well, I think actually being bilingual, it's not just about being able to publish in your own language. It's really also about expanding your worldview, and that's one of the characteristics of a bilingual journal, and indeed of bilingual speakers. Most readers of the Journal of Industrial Relations, they're monolingual. That's the case for a lot of the readers of the British Journal of Industrial Relations or WES and so on. But I think if you're exposed to languages, there are very different ways of thinking in English and French. And while English is a language of international business, it's not really the source of all wisdom. And indeed, it could be argued that the lack of exposure to other languages could be a reason for the conservatism and introspection of much English language writing in the US and the UK and so on. The bilingual nature of the journal means there's a wider range of perspectives and methods. So that's something that you get in an industrial relations journal anyway. Like one of the things that really appeals to me about industrial relations journals is that you do have this wide range of perspectives. you've got quantitative methods, you've got qualitative methods, mixed methods, historical methods, and so on. And you get all that in a good industrial relations journal. But it's not inherently the case in all industrial relations journals. If you take the example of what is said to be the top American journals, they're actually very quantitative, and indeed much more quantitative than the leading IR journals in most other countries. And so one of the great things about Relations Industrielles is that you can publish quantitative, but you can also publish qualitative. You can publish a range of methods. There's a range of perspectives, and your readers will have a range of perspectives as well. So I think there's really something special about a journal that's both bilingual and in industrial relations.
Alors oui, effectivement, nous sommes dans une période d'incertitude pour l'ensemble du monde. Puis ici, je parle du milieu académique pour l'ensemble des chercheurs qui n'ont pas nécessairement accès à leur terrain de recherche. Au moment où on se parle, je suis encore confinée dans ma maison. Mais je dirais, si on essaie de voir l'autre côté de la médaille, et il y en a quelques-uns, premier élément, ce serait de vous dire que cette crise nous révèle sert de révélateur des inégalités multiples qui traversent le monde du travail et de l'emploi. Mm-hmm. Et je pense que ça nous relance, nous, les chercheurs, et ça concerne l'ensemble des revues de relations industrielles, de témoigner, de démontrer et je dirais, de rafraîchir le regard sur le travail et l'emploi. Je pense que c'est une opportunité fantastique. L'autre opportunité, c'est que nous parlons maintenant via Zoom et je pense qu'il va falloir se dire qu'il y a de plus en plus de choses de nos vies, de recherche et de diffusion des résultats qui se feront avec les nouvelles technologies. Alors, ça peut ouvrir des perspectives extraordinaires. Alors, la revue, oui, elle publie encore en format papier, mais elle a aussi un format électronique. Pourquoi ne pourrait-elle pas avoir des blogs, d'autres occasions d'échanger entre les chercheurs? Alors, big job for you, Anthony. Yeah. Et l'autre aspect, c'est certain que tout ce courant de numérisation va poser des défis particuliers en termes de financement des revues. Ouais. Alors, je suis très favorable à ce que les recherches qui sont publiées à partir des fonds publics soient disponibles en libre accès. Toutefois, cela implique qu'on trouve un nouveau modèle d'affaires qui va permettre à l'édition scientifique de se poursuivre avec les mécanismes actuels comme l'évaluation par les pairs, ouais. etc.
Yeah, okay.
Voilà.
Yeah, very interesting. So, David, I'll ask you the same question. Uncertain times, does it give us opportunities? What do you think it means for the journal? And what should we be wary of?
Well, there's uncertainties coming from a number of sources. There's really the fundamental sources of capitalism that are leading to widening inequality and increasing political debate and consequences of those. And industrial relations is really about relations at the point of production and the distribution of the gains from that production. What do the workers get? What do the bosses get? And how is that all managed? Mm. And as inequality becomes even more a potent point of conflict and political and social conflict, I think industrial relations is a central issue that people are researching and writing about and publishing about in the journal. Martine mentioned technology, and that's one of the key elements of that conflict. It's just going to continue into the future, and it's going to long be a topic of discussion. And then at the moment, we've got, of course, the COVID pandemic. There's a question of how COVID affects work. A lot of people are talking about how it's really going to lead to some permanent changes in work, in the extent to which people are working from home or other sorts of flexible arrangements, and well, what are the implications of that for control and management, and indeed for surveillance, and how does surveillance technology relate to workers that are working from home and so on. There's all sorts of important issues that people are going to be writing about. Right now, at the moment, I'm doing a project with some other academics in Australia and Canada and New Zealand, looking at the implications of work arrangements under the COVID pandemic for university staff in Australia and Canada and so on, and in particularly how those effects are gendered. So there's lots of big issues that people are going to be investigating over the next, well, right now, but really there's the question of these long-term changes that arise from the pandemic and how is that going to affect work as well. Okay. And then, of course, another source of uncertainty for the journal itself is this issue of the journal ranking systems. There's been some controversy over the ranking of various journals in industrial relations. I think industrial relations as a field is probably disadvantaged by the way a lot of these ranking systems are drawn up. And I know there's a few people in Canada, particularly in Francophone Canada, that are disturbed by this trend. And I guess the thing to be wary of in terms of the journal is not to lose that special thing about Relations Industrielles, the fact that it's such a broad-ranging, wide perspective journal that takes on people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and with different perspectives and different methodologies. Don't become too introspective or too fragmented in response to the attempts by the managerialists to try to narrow down the things that people research, because really what we as social science researchers are interested in and what matters for society aren't necessarily the same things that the managerialists in charge of the universities and the publishing houses want us to be interested in, because it's not necessarily so easy for them to count, and they love to count. So I guess that's one of the other things to be wary of for the journal, is this danger of becoming too introspective and missing the huge opportunities that arise for publication of important research in the context of the changing nature of capitalism and the way that the COVID pandemic has affected it.
Oui, effectivement, une des premières choses que je dirais, c'est effectivement, si vous êtes un jeune chercheur francophone, vous avez, avec Relations Industrielles, une possibilité de publier dans votre langue et d'avoir accès à une diffusion à un niveau international. Ça, c'est la première chose. Et comme disait David, je crois que c'est très important de ne pas fragmenter, parce que si une relation industrielle n'existait pas avec son caractère bilingue et l'ensemble des réalités qu'elle reflète, bien, on peut penser que chacun dans sa discipline publierait dans les revues françaises d'économie ou dans les revues françaises de sociologie. Il n'y aurait pas cet échange au plan international avec d'autres chercheurs en français et en anglais. Alors ça, c'est le premier élément. Deuxième élément, je dirais que bon, effectivement, on a une capacité d'accueillir et de faire cheminer les jeunes auteurs que n'ont pas nécessairement d'autres revues. D'abord, on publie une plus large part des manuscrits que l'on reçoit, mais dans plusieurs cas, c'est le produit d'une interaction avec les auteurs où, quand on est un jeune auteur, oui, on veut publier, mais par définition, on n'a pas beaucoup d'expérience. Alors, il y a quand même un accompagnement qui est offert, si bien que peut-être que ça prendra plusieurs versions, mais au moins, vous finirez par être publié par une revue de calibre international, même si vous n'êtes pas quelqu'un de très chevronné qui a plusieurs années de carrière derrière lui ou derrière elle. Je trouve aussi que Relations industrielles s'est toujours fait un point d'honneur d'être très respectueux à l'égard de ses auteurs en ne leur demandant pas la cession complète de tous les droits, en les autorisant à reprendre, hein, après évidemment un délai raisonnable, mais certains de leurs résultats, certaines parties de leurs articles pour leur propre compte, sur leur site ou à l'intérieur d'un livre. J'ai toujours trouvé que c'était une pratique respectueuse à l'égard des auteurs qui sont, hein, comme le nom l'indique, à l'origine de ces produits, de ces articles.
Merci, Madame de Moore. Thank you, Professor de Moore. Professor Peets, why should younger scholars in particular target our journal? Could you speak to that, please?
Well, it's a journal of considerable status. It's really the top industrial relations journal in Canada. And it's therefore one of the top industrial relations journals in North America. And it has a very broad audience. It's not just people who are, interested in the most exciting latest statistical techniques. It's a broad audience of people who are interested in industrial relations issues. And one thing for the Anglophones who are watching this to understand is that really most of the articles that are in English will be read by just about all of the readers of the journal, because most of the Francophones will read the Anglophone articles anyway. The Francophone scholars are much more erudite and elegant in French, but they can still understand what you're writing in English, and so your ideas are spreading into the Francophone community. That's probably doesn't happen quite so much the other way, because there's not so many Anglophones, particularly outside of Canada, who are good at speaking French, particularly in the US and the UK and Australia. But nonetheless, you get a wider range of readers for what you write in that journal than you would get in a lot of other places, actually. And of course, if you're an American scholar in particular, but also a Canadian scholar, it really is a very good forum for putting in qualitative articles or mixed methods or historical articles relating to industrial relations or the world of work. It's probably the best place to be aiming for one of those articles, and it's still a very good place to be wanting to publish a purely quantitative paper. So it's really quite a good place to look to be publishing with status and a good audience.
Thank you, Professor Peets, and thank you to both of you. I think we've finished our session for today. I appreciate very much your time.